We're going to give you a little bonus episode this week on Locked On Coyotes. We're going to just 6 games in, check in with all the Coyotes players and just give you our thoughts.
You're Locked On Coyotes, your daily podcast on the Arizona Coyotes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the show, everybody. This is Locked On Coyotes, #1 daily podcast on the Arizona Coyotes. Today's episode brought to you by Sleeper. Download the Sleeper app and use the promo code LOCKEDONNHL. Get up to $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper terms of use for details. We got a great little bonus episode for you guys today. There's a game going on later today. Yes, I know that'll be Game 7 for the Coyotes, but since we are 6 games in, we got a pretty small sample size to be able to take a little bit of a judgment on how some of these players are going, Matthew.
Yeah, we got a small wine tasting. We got a little sampling of what the season's like so far. So you know what? Let's just go ahead and make our way up and down the list, starting with Nick Schmaltz and Clayton Keller, tied for team leader in points. And Keller technically should be on top because he has 4 goals. He's leading the team in goals, but Schmaltzy, 6 games, 2 goals, 5 assists, 7 points. Keller, 6 games, 4 goals, 3 assists, 7 points. I think they have both played phenomenal. No one's missed a step. They picked right back up where they were last year. And when this team is in a position to be more competitive, it's hard to remember that I was pro trade Schmaltz last year.
It's interesting that we had that thought process did come up. I mean, even then, for me, we were talking about Schmaltz trade value.
Mm-hmm.
I think mainly because for a while, everyone because before going into the season, before taking a look at how this season was going to go and how the offseason was going to go, our thought process was essentially everyone's on the block except for Keller. Keller's the only one that's untouchable. Now we're starting to really get an understanding of who the core is, truly, and that you don't want to mess with that. So you don't want to mess with the Keller Schmaltz, duo.
It's one of those things where this team, and I said it multiple times on multiple different shows and sources last year, where this team was definitely ahead of schedule last year, but it's also it's irresponsible to assume that they're still that far ahead of schedule and not still try to play the asset game that Bill Armstrong loves to play. So to me, it's like I still stand by Nick Schmaltz is probably still a year or two too old for this core. However, if they truly are as far ahead of schedule as I think they might be, and it kind of seems with the consistency they're building over the last couple of years in terms of the jumps, they might actually be. He's right, perfect age. So it's weird, it's complicated, but the fact that they didn't mess with that situation at all, and it's completely benefited the team in every context, because while the bottom 6 has struggled to add those depth goals early, it's only 6 games in, but they have struggled to add that many depth goals. The top 6, predominantly that first line, has been phenomenal.
I mean, yeah, you take a look at that. I mean, first of all, just as you mentioned, Keller and Schmaltz, who have just constantly been producing. Mm-hmm. But we're talking about every other player who has been an integral part of that. Logan Cooley being one of them, right? Yes, he hasn't got a goal yet, and some people are screaming for that to happen.
We are still locked on Cooley, and
we are still locked on Cooley, and we are going to be as optimistic as we can for Logan Cooley, because you know what, he is fantastic. And coming up in a few days from now, from when everyone is listening to this, it will be Logan Cooley versus Connor Bedard, so it will be the ultimate matchup of who's the better rookie.
I mean, Connor Bustard. That I will not let that meme go away until the Rookie of the Year is decided this year. But Logan Cooley, one thing I also wanted to mention is last year, Keller has been the default jersey. I mean, most of my jerseys are Keller jerseys. They overproduce them, and they end up throwing them on sale. Lawson Krause got a lot of love last year. Cooley is the new big pre-made one, And when I was walking around for the home opener, I saw them sell. I saw them multiple times have to fan them back out and rearrange them to make it look like it was taking up more shelf space than it was because they were selling pretty darn fast. So
Now
Logan
that's a
Cooley
good.
has an impact.
That's an interesting thought process. Let me ask you this: when was the last time the Coyotes had a player coming in which, early on, that player's jersey would fly off the shelves?
Wait, let me see. Let me see. I might have one. I might.
You might have it.
I
Oh
might.
God, let's we have to see it. I'm actually curious to see what which one Matthew pulls out. If you're watching on YouTube, we'll see what it is. It's gonna be an interesting one. I can't think of what it was. I had to go decently far back, but it might be. Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
that's
I got a couple of options. I got exactly 3. Let's gauge everyone's reactions here. So first, this was a staple for many years. Oliver Rickman
okay.
Larson.
That is
Secondly,
fair.
the captain himself, Captain Coyote. And thirdly, I remember the hype. It was him and Kyle Turris, but I don't remember how well the jerseys sold. I remember seeing a lot of them though. I remember seeing a good amount of Peter Mueller jerseys back in the day.
I was thinking in my head, who could it be from going decent far back in terms of hype? Peter Mueller could have. I mean, Ekman Larson and Doan are those are ones that kind of sold for a while.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if they stole, from the get go, from day one, which is what I was getting at, but.
Well, yeah, because Doan took a little bit to establish himself. OEL had some hype, but it wasn't that level of hype. But I do remember that it was Peter Mueller and Kyle Turris were seen as these could potentially be that elite first line center, and it was my first taste of a hyped prospect, and also my first taste of bitter disappointment. But we're not here to talk about the bitter disappointment. We're here to talk about the hyped prospect. So that's the last one I truly remember being really hyped, because even Dylan Strome wasn't that hyped. In fact, I remember more people were just annoyed around Dylan Strome the entire time.
I mean, I think
the entire time.
Maybe with the exception of down in Tucson, I think a lot of people were trying to get a lot of Strome stuff for Tucson, but even then, though, I think there were other players out there who were who actually sold more in Tucson than Dylan Strome? Connor Garland.
Yes. People loved Garland down in Tucson. I still need to get. I want a Garland jersey. I wonder if I can sneak one past AHL.com and see if they'll put a number 8 on one.
I think they might be able to get it done. If not, you can figure out other ways.
But other than that, Keller had hype, but Keller's become such a staple that he's kind of joined the OELs and the Dones, where he's kind of become evergreen. But I don't even remember his jersey flying off that fast. Where Logan Cooley's is legitimately flying off the fastest I think I've seen.
And that makes any Coyotes fan happy to to know that there's finally someone like that to really get that much hype surrounding, and there's hope for the future of this franchise.
So let's go ahead and look at Mr. Hype Future after a brief word from sponsors on today's show.
Absolutely. Today's episode is brought to you by Parkview Advance. As a business owner, you realize there are times when receivables might fall behind, but that doesn't mean you need to fall behind on vendor payments, payroll, or rent. For more than 25 years, Parkview Advance has helped businesses secure working capital from $5,000 to $1.5 million. Parkview Advance can approve your working capital in as little as 24 hours. It's a much easier process than you might imagine. We invite the many entrepreneurs that are Locked On NHL fans to learn more by calling us at 203-675-0071 or go to parkviewadvance.com. If your business needs working capital, call Parkview Advance today. Parkview Advance, helping businesses with their working capital. Go to parkviewadvance.com.
And today's episode is also brought to you by Jace Medical. Everyone should be empowered to care for themselves and their loved ones during the unexpected. That's why Jace Medical offers the Jace Case. The Jace Case provides 5 life-saving antibiotics for emergency use and gives you peace of mind so you're not just hoping that you have access to medication in an emergency. Jace Medical makes sure you have medication in hand. Jace Medical is simple. They handle everything from online evaluation to licensed pharmacy medication delivery and ongoing consultation and care. Don't get caught unprepared. Get $20 off these life-saving antibiotics today from Jace Medical by using my code LOCKEDON at checkout at jacemedical.com. That's JASE medical.com.
Thanks again, everyone, for making Locked On Coyotes your first listen every day. As a reminder, we are free and available everywhere you get your podcasts. For your second listen, be sure to check out Locked On Diamondbacks. The World Series begins this weekend, and I know a lot of you guys are hyped about the Arizona Diamondbacks making it to the World Series for the first time in 22 years. So be sure to check out Locked On Diamondbacks, free and available wherever you get your podcasts. But let's continue talking about these players, Matthew, within 6 games. And, a little bit more on Cooley if you want, because Cooley, I think, like I said, is the ultimate hype. Like, everyone's looking forward to the future.
Yeah, and he's only not scored so far in, 2 games against Anaheim and the Islanders. He has 5 assists so far in his 6 games played. So, obviously, massive bust. Can't even maintain a point per game pace. But one thing I've noticed about Cooley is I love how much effort, and I do have some criticisms. I do think that on the power play he defers a little too much to Keller. I feel like he's not willing to take that shot. It's a little more, hey, defer over to the vet, defer over to the person leading this line. So I do kind of think, I'll say it one more time, put him on power play 2, separate him from Keller, put him on the side that Keller's on, just kind of see what happens. Worst case scenario, it doesn't work out. It is what it is. Try something a little bit different. But the power play has also been surprisingly well. I think they were top 10 so far in the league. Go figure, because they weren't scoring the first couple of games on the power play. But
heck, maybe they'll test out, putting Cooley up there for the Bedard game, because he's like, you know what? Let's flex our muscles a little bit.
Let's make sure he scores. Gosh darn it.
Let's make sure Logan Cooley gets a gosh darn hat trick.
But one thing I've noticed, he's been everywhere. Defensively, I'm not going to say he's excellent defensively. He's been capable, but it's effort driven. He reminds me a little bit of Connor Garland in terms of the tenacity in the defensive zone, sticks everywhere. He's skating hard. He's kind of reminded me a lot of Jason Zucker in the offensive zone. He's been everywhere, just attacking the puck. Similar with Sean Durzi's, again, a lot of players playing really well and impressing me, but I noticed he's everywhere. And then on the offensive side, once again, everywhere, getting involved in the back check, trying to maintain possession in the offensive zone, getting some decent opportunities. I do know he has to work a little more in the face-off circle, and obviously a little more with the confidence and learning the NHL game. It's definitely a higher level of competition than the NCAA, but he's still performed well. He's looked consistently good, and the effort has always been there. And I have nothing but respect for that, because this kid, he's going to start scoring, and it's going to be in bunches. And it's going to be, he's not scoring at all. And then, he's already got 12 goals. When did that happen?
Right. Eventually it will hit, right?
Yeah.
I think once the floodgates are open for his scoring, it's going to just be insane.
Yeah, because we've already seen that higher echelon he can reach. We've seen bits and pieces. Again, you can't take too much out of the preseason, but we've seen small bits, glimpses of what he will be or at least should be and can be at this level. It's only a matter of time. And we're going to keep saying every game is his first goal game until we're right.
Let's see let's see a duplicate of the first game in Australia where he does that, one of those kind of moves. Like, if we could see a lot of that.
What if he's waiting to pull it's the Michigan, right?
The Michigan.
And, yeah. What if he tries to pull the Michigan and mull it again, but this time it's against the LA Kings? I don't know. Maybe he's saving it, but the scoring is going to come, but he's been doing everything else, and it just comes down to when he gets more experience, more acclimated, more proficient at this level, all the little things that he might not be elite at, he's good but not elite. He'll
Right.
start bridging that gap, and even if he's just very good and not elite, you'll still take that in the two-way aspect from a 30 goal scorer.
And I think this all well-roundedness and this value that he adds to, like I said, to just pretty much every aspect on the ice, I feel like that will surely make sure that he gets like, you know, top two. Again, it could be either one or two in voting when it comes to Calder Trophy. Like he's gone. Like I feel like his name cannot be, taken lightly when it comes to Calder Trophy voting come the end of the year.
Oh, it will, because he's a Coyote, eh?
Unless I mean, like, look, if the Coyotes make the playoffs, and that's again like as an if, then I feel like that you cannot like. It's harder to discredit that versus Connor Bedard, who's on a Blackhawks who are definitely not going to make the playoffs.
Capital P Puckett we ball. They're making the playoffs. You heard it here first. They'll record about 92 points.
Hey, did you see the tweet from Mike Gould where we talked about like his impressions of the Coyotes, and he says, prediction for the end of the year,
Mm-hmm.
Coyotes get second wild card, and I'm like, screw it, all in.
It's very realistic because literally, like I said going into the season, the goal, and so far they're following the blueprint to a frustrating degree, the goal is painful mediocrity record-wise. And they're doing that consistently through the first 6 to 7 games of the season. Man, maybe they get enough points and they stay in that race and they get hot at the right time. Maybe you get a free agency acquisition or a trade deadline acquisition. Maybe you're willing to part with one of those many second round picks. Who knows? It's all up in the air because we're still not there yet. But let's get a couple more players out of the way before the final break, and then the final couple players we want to highlight. Jonathan Dursey and Matthias Michelli, both tied with 4 points. Michelli has 4 assists. He's on a 3-game point streak, recording 2 1-1 assists respectively. And him and Valimaki have paired for, I think, 3 power play assists.
Yeah, when I think that definitely becomes useful, especially, like when it comes to the power play and others like that. Like it's nice having puck moving defensemen who work as efficiently as they do.
Yeah. And Valimaki and Dursey have been really good. I think the entire defense really has been much better, but just inconsistent. like with the intensity and how many opportunities are given up. But Matthias Michelli, it was almost concerning a little bit how quiet he was. Then they break him off of that chemistry with Bukestad and Krause, which I'm gonna note is mildly concerning because obviously Bukestad was not going to be first line Travis Boyd because every single year we have someone come in and surprise us and play a higher role than they probably should. But just to see the chemistry that was unreal, not die, but just not work the way it did last year, it was a little weird. Then you break them up and the scoring starts coming in bunches. So Lawson Krause sticking around the third line area. It's really weird, but it's also kind of like that's not a bad top 9 anchor. I'll stand by that. It's just something to keep a note, and maybe, just maybe, you might have McBain having an opportunity to move up a little bit in that top 9 because it just didn't work as well. And I don't know if it's just going to take a little bit of time to get back to it or if that was just a 1-year thing. So small note, but Michelli pretty much just jumped right back in where he needed to be when they mixed him around a little bit. So I feel like he's shooting a little more than he did last year at this point. The goals haven't come yet. I feel like they'll come a little earlier this year than last year.
I think so. They definitely will. Matthias Michelli is all. I think everyone everyone loves the dude so much, even no matter what. And usually, as we always mentioned, the players tend to even take a slight step back, anyways, when it comes to their sophomore years for some reason. Maybe because people figure them out a little bit more. But I have confidence Michelli can adapt and make sure that he stays on top and always looks great.
Yeah, and like I said, the scoring just wasn't there to begin with. He gets taken off that line, they're separated, and it immediately comes back. So
Exactly.
he's adaptable. He's very adaptable, and honestly,
That's
he might have stolen a second line spot in the core down the line.
and that's what you want to see from a player, right? A
Mm-hmm.
player who's adaptable. There are players who are like kind of like stuck in this like certain role at a certain line, and you don't know what to do with them. You
Mm-hmm.
just don't know what to do with them. That's what I love about Michelli is that he is that adaptable. That you can change his line and kind of and change who he plays alongside with, and you know it makes a huge difference.
Yeah. Anyway, we will get right back to this after a word from the sponsor on today's show.
Absolutely. Today's episode is brought to you by Sleeper. If you want to win 100 times your money, play daily fantasy hockey on the Sleeper app. As the official daily fantasy app of the Locked On NHL Network, Sleeper is our top choice for daily fantasy sports and especially daily fantasy hockey. With Sleeper, you can win 100 times your cash in daily fantasy hockey contests. You can pick from players, many different players like Logan Cooley, Connor McDavid, Connor Bedard, and you can win up to 100 times your money. You can do it with just yourself or with your friends on the app. And not just hockey, but you could do daily fantasy, NFL, NBA, MLB, and even college football all on Sleeper. And you could talk with your friends in a group chat functionality, all done in the app. Entries can be made all in under a minute. All you need to do is just pick your player. Like I mentioned those players earlier, just look at their stats like goals, assists, plus, minus, and more. And once again, Coyotes fans, 100 times payouts on Sleeper. So start paying attention and get your picks right so you can win big. Use the promo code LOCKDOWNNHL. You get up to $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. That's LOCKDOWNNHL. See Sleeper terms of use for details. Well, as a reminder, everyone, the Arizona Coyotes are every game the Arizona Coyotes play, you can tune in to their games on the SiriusXM radio app or in SiriusXM in your car. Just search up Coyotes on the app, and if you need help, every game that comes on, we will post on social media on the channel. You can find them in your car on satellite radio. So once again, just be sure to check it out on SiriusXM. But let's get back to it. I just put that back away, Matthew. To get some of the final players we can review on these on this little bonus episode.
Yeah, let's do a speed round. So, Zucker, 5 games, 2 goals, 2 total points. He's currently injured. Was looking really good. I have
He was
no
getting
complaints.
he was picking up his pace pretty quickly, and I really appreciate that. I think his injury, I hope his injury doesn't derail that momentum.
Mm-hmm.
But again, we'll only find out. Again, he's week to week, so we'll find out what maybe by the end of next month. Hopefully it doesn't take too long, but see what happens when he comes back.
Yep, 100%. And honestly, he was playing really well in the top 6. Nick Bukestad helping to anchor that top 9, a couple of goals in 6 games, looked really good. As with that pairing with Krause, just as soon as you broke up Michelli off the line, that's when you start getting a little bit more scoring. Krause has the 1 assist so far. Carcone has a goal and an assist, and it kind of felt like he's been everywhere he needs to be, but it just it took a little bit for it to connect.
I think I have to say this really quick. When it comes to Carcone, maybe there's a load of adapting when it comes to remembering that he's literally came from the Tucson Roadrunners, the lead scorer, to now just a depth anchor piece for the for the Coyotes. Nothing wrong with that, but I think it's just a little bit of an adapting you need to do for that. But he's done great otherwise.
Yeah, seriously, yeah, it's just a bottom 6 role that they have him playing on the second line with Zucker out. They had him bouncing up a little bit in between the second and third line. Looks good. I like to give him a little more consistent time up without Zucker being injured, but you're not going to get that.
Right.
It's one or the other. Travis Boyd has the 1 assist in 2 games, still decent. Matt Dumba only has the 1 goal, but it was a very good goal. What was that? That was the one against the Devils. He got it in his first game.
Yeah.
You got Jackery McBain as a goal. For the players that are pointless, that have yet to record a point.
I love it.
We're not talking about Bissonnette here. We got Alex Kerfoot and Barrett Hayton that I want to highlight. JJ Mosier has just been his defensive self. You have more than enough offensive defensemen to pick it up, so his offensive numbers are likely going to go down, but he's still getting the defense out of him. It's fine. Barrett Hayton and Alex Kerfoot. What have you noticed out of those two? Because I feel like my opinion is going to be like ridiculously different, and not even because I'm trying to be.
I feel like it's interesting because, like, Hayton had a really good last year. I thought he was going to build off of it. I feel like he's kind of fallen a little bit flat. He's not terrible. I just feel like he's just fallen a little bit flat and kind of took us maybe, if anything, just a very slight step back.
I have the exact opposite opinion. I think I never disliked him last year. I saw a lot of the fan base like dogging on him last year, and it never made sense to me. He is an excellent two-way forward. He's also getting in front of the net a lot. He's definitely doing a lot of setting up other guys to the best of his ability. He's doing everything he needs to, and he would have had that first goal had it not been called back. I'm starting to just feel like Barrett Hayton is going to always be this player where his two-way game is always going to be the focus. And no matter how good he looks offensively, the scoring is going to lack until it doesn't.
And here's the interesting thing is, like, a lot of people, there are people out there who will also agree with me. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. There's just like so many people just like, it's an interesting complex with Barrett Hayton. How there's no middle ground. It's always completely opposite views. And again, like, I've got nothing against him. I still think he's a fantastic player. I'm just a little. I just had higher expectations, and I'm just a little disappointed. That's all it is for me. There are people who actually have the complete opposite feelings, and it's like, all right, that's a little too far. But
all I know is that I don't know if it's just I learn a little quicker than some people. I tend to just see what a player is, and at some point, that's what they are. Barrett Hayton is doing everything he needs to. I'm just, from this point on, he was drafted 25th overall. Just moving forward, he was a 25th overall draft pick.
I mean, yeah. I will say this, though. He is a fantastic supplement to top-line players.
Yeah. And while he is not going to be that permanent first liner, I think he fits better. I know I said third line at the start of last season. Second to third line is a really good role for him. So I think when Logan Cooley's ready to go up to the first line, it'll be a little easier.
I feel like that's kind of where my thought process was going, because like I was trying to treat him too much as a first line center, but we got to remember that truly, like, when it comes to the heart of everything, he's really a middle six guy. But that's not, again, as I mentioned before, nothing wrong with that. He's like, does perfectly fine in that role like that.
And he still does have that fill-in, fringe top six potential where he'll come in and look really good and help you out. It's just, I feel like the second line is probably his best fit. So whenever Cooley's ready, I feel like the fans will back off him a little bit. So from this moment forward, you heard it here first. All right. He's a 25th overall selection. He is not a 5th overall. He's 25th overall. And then Kerfoot, I know PD's high on him. I know PD, or was it PD or was it Nasher? I was forget which one, but was talking about how he's kind of being everywhere he needs to be on the ice. I will not say I necessarily disagree. I just think he's Casper. I have yet to notice him. And I'm not 100% sure if I'm just not looking, if he's just struggling to fit properly, not struggling to play well, just struggling to fit right in. I'm not 100% sure what it is. I just feel like he's very easy to miss right now.
Yeah, which you're right. I am 100% with you on that. I feel like a lot of that has to go with because everyone's eyes are on Keller, Schmaltz, Cooley, Michelli. There's so many other players that everyone's got their eyes on that Kerfoot has just become an afterthought that no one really pays attention to at all, because he's just surrounded by just insane talent. It's not his fault. It's just the way things are. You're right. I tend to forget he's there because I'm paying attention to all the other guys.
I'm not gonna lie. I think it was the second or third game when I was live streaming it. I saw number 15 skating. I'm like, who the hell is number 15? Anyway, that's all we got for you. We are way over time. Goaltending's excellent. We've been gushing about that for 2 weeks now. We're not going to rehash that. Alex, you're not going to watch this. I want to reiterate, I did not say you suck. I just said it's easy to forget you're out there. That's it.
Yeah. And again, and like I said, it's just not your fault either. It's just that you're surrounded by players who've got insane talent right now.
And he is very much McBaining it, where McBain to start last year, he just embraced that bottom six role fully. Maybe that's literally just what Kerfoot's doing. And to be fair, he doesn't have a top six spot, and he wasn't brought in to be a top sixer, middle sixer. So it's a little weird that he's mostly in stapled gun to the bottom six / fourth line, but he still is not playing poorly. That's all that should matter. He's playing.
That's all that really does matter. Like, it's a problem if we do notice you for the wrong reasons. If you're not noticed, it's like you're just there. Mm-hmm. Anyways, that's going to be it for today's episode of the Locked On Coyotes podcast. If you like what you heard, don't forget to leave a review, like, comment, subscribe if you have yet to already. We're available everywhere you get your podcast, including on YouTube, on the Sirius XM radio app, and ad-free on Amazon Music. Don't forget to interact with us on social media. We're on Facebook, facebook.com/LockedOnCoyotes, and on X at @LO_Coyotes. I'm personally at Robyn_Leonio. Matt Jacobson is at the AZ Sports Guy. Interact with us, ask a question you might have. We might answer right back or on a future episode of the Locked On Coyotes podcast. Thanks again, everyone, for listening to today's episode. Hope you guys are staying safe out there. Hope you guys are staying healthy. And don't forget to howl on.